Kansas guitarist Rich Williams talks about how an 18-year-old kid changed his life. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Remember, each one of our clips, as we feature Kansas, has 4 members being interviewed. Rich Williams, as mentioned, their newest member, Joe Denenzone, on violin, Tom Brislin, their keyboard player since 2018, and their lead singer since 2014, Ronnie Platt. But first, let's talk about Rich Williams. Rich Williams is a longtime guitarist of the American rock band Kansas. He's been on every single album since 1973 and remains, along with drummer Phil Ehart, the only 2 original members of the band. He's known for his distinctive guitar playing and, of course, being an integral part of that group. He was born on February 1st, 1950 in Topeka, Kansas. Williams plays guitar on songs that, well, everyone has heard. Carry On Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind, Play the Game Tonight, the title song to Point of No Return, What's on My Mind, and of course, hundreds more. He has many inspirational stories concerning his road to sobriety, and to some, he's just as well known as a rock for anyone really wanting to be clean. At 62, I started going, have I achieved as much as I want to, or have I learned that thing as much as I want? And maybe it's because I'm not stubborn and getting in my own way anymore. Why do you think that changed for you?
My wife, me and Debbie have been together for the last 12, 13 years. And before that, I was a drunk. I didn't start off that way, but just it kind of happens. And number one, she told me when we first got together, I can't tell you what you're going to do, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And if you don't knock this shit out, I'm leaving. And that it was new in the relationship. And it was, one of those things where we collided and life changed forever for me. And I didn't want to do anything to lose that. And well, she's taught me a lot in that time. And one of them is gratitude. And how grateful I am for my life, my experience, with the band, everything I've gotten to do, that I need to realize how fortunate I is that I just stumbled along and it still happened. And I need to grab a hold of that and respect it from this day forward. And I've also found to kind of cherish the uncomfortable moments. To face them and do them. It means I care. It means I'm alive. It means this is so important to me that it makes me nervous to even confront it because I don't want to blow it. And so life is just not easy. And so anticipate that and make the best of it and use that as a tool instead of a crutch. And so that's kind of where I am now. Is I'm always kind of afraid of what's around the corner because it's kind of in my nature for whatever reason. But as an adult, a newfound bravery of confronting it anyway. And guess what? There's never been anything scary there. Except what's in between my ears. Yeah. And in recognizing that's very helpful.
That when we talk about this on the channel, we've got 107,000 subscribers. They love us. They get on a lot. And a lot of those guys, and I appreciate your honesty, will be listening to those words you just said very carefully. Because you know how it is. It's a ripple effect, right? You go through it, you help someone else. It's just.
But you can, everybody has a common thread of things that someone else says, and it kind of completes their puzzle, completes their sentence, completes their thought. Or it at least verifies their feelings about it. Look, I thought I was the only one that was that stupid. No, Rich with Kansas, he was even dumber than I am. Yeah, I mean, it is important. I learned in the process of becoming sober, in life before, in relationships and stuff, everything was always swept under the rug. Shh, don't tell anybody. And Debbie, my wife now, taught me to become clean with things. And, being in AA while I was still going a lot, taught me to admit it. I mean, now, I mean, I can talk on the radio, talk to anybody. Just recently sat down with a family meeting, and this black woman that was she said she was a judge, came in completely drunk and came right to me, and I talked her through a lot of stuff. Like I was chosen. I've learned to just, hold my hand up with pride and say, did you do it? Oh, boy, did I. And here's what I learned in the process. And I say this, I've told this story earlier today, and stop me if I'm repeating myself. But while going to AA, it was called a candlelight meeting. And in that meeting, there was only 6, 8 of us, I guess, around this table. And it's a very informal meeting. And there's just a single candle in the room. We're all sitting around, and all the formalities of AA don't exist. And you sit there. And once in a while, someone will speak. And you just listen. And then it'll be quiet. Well, there was a kid, he's about 18 in there. And finally, he spoke up. He goes, I'm not an alcoholic. My father was. And my mother is next door to an Al-Anon meeting, and I didn't want to be there, so I just wandered in here. But I do have a story. And he starts telling his story about, growing up, and his dad, most of it, he got the story from his mother, but he was a terrible drunk. Beat her. He was worthless, terrible with money, all the things you can imagine of being a drunk. But then he got himself clean through the program. And it turned out that he helped hundreds of other alcoholics, became a sponsor to all these people, and was the leader in his AA group and all of these things. And he passed away. And then he said, my dad is my hero because my dad went out a winner. And that's all I needed to know. That lit the light bulb in my head. And from that moment on, that's all I needed to know, was my life will change right now. And I am going to go out a winner in everything I do from this moment on. And that was, my trajectory completely changed in that instant.
Isn't it interesting,
All it takes is the right moment. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, kind of all of those little things. My mom used to tell me things like that. Blah, 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 blah. They're true. It's just, you never know when they're coming, but when they do, grab a hold of it and write it out for the rest of your life. And that's been me for the last 12 years or so, is being grateful for everything that's happened to me, good and bad, because it all got me to where I am today. And to do my best to go out a winner for my family, for my fans, for my bandmates, for myself. That's my goal.
Have you ever had that, like that imposter, going back to that thing of going, wow, this has turned out pretty good, this career of mine?
I got to tell you, I suffered from, we all have. I suffered from imposter syndrome many times in my life. And people who I consider very successful have confessed to me in private that they experience it as well. The last people you would think feel that way, but I've been at it for a long, long time. And when the opportunities presented themselves this year, I felt ready, and I felt like I paid my dues, man. I earned this. I scratched and clawed for it. So, I wake up every morning and I say to myself, yeah, I belong here, and I shouldn't second guess anything. And so everything happens for a reason. Roads will lead you to a certain place. So,
by the way, you mentioned trucking. Outside of music, what are you? Obviously you're a damn good trucker, but is there anything else outside of music you're really good at?
Well, I'm trying to be a really good mechanic now.
How long has that been going on?
Not long. I've always had a love affection for cars and stuff. I've always been like a closet classic car guy, but I recently acquired a 1968 Corvette with a 327, and I am just loving working on this thing, and I'm going to tear this thing down to the frame and restore it myself. So anybody who's willing to give me any tips, PM me on Facebook. So that's really been my love of late outside of music. Music can be rewarding and frustrating all in the same day. There's times you're playing drums. Someday you sit down at the drums and things just whip, you're feeling it. Other days it's drudgery. It's the same thing with me. Sometimes I sit down at the piano and the ideas are just coming one right after another. I can't hit the record button fast enough. Other days, it's just not there and you can't force it. And that's when I'll go out to the garage and, work on the car. And I do that for a couple hours, come back in the house, and I have a whole new set of mindset.
The cars thing to me, that sounds invigorating. That's connecting with the younger part of who you are. That
Right.
guy still lives in you.
Absolutely. And I'm not a couch potato. I'm the farthest thing from. My better half always says, "You never sit down. You're always doing something," and I am. I always have to be doing something. I want to squeeze everything I can out of every second that I have.
You seem to have really, first of all, to fit in any situation, you never know. It's chemistry, it's moods, it's what you're going through. It's so many different variables, even to put an album together. As you know, there's so many pieces to it. But the fact that you were able to fit in that pocket so well and add to it, that's the thing. That's why fans are so excited. That's why it's number 10 on Billboard. I mean, the thing is, that speaks for itself. I mean, that must be satisfying for you.
Oh, certainly. I mean, the response has been overwhelming. And it's funny because a band at this stage, there are certain expectations, and I think we're already subverting them by making new music in the first place. And then to have it perform so well so far is it's really rewarding. But for me, it's not so much about the accolades as it is the fact that the music is reaching more and more people. And we have a really loyal core fan base that comes to the shows. I've become friends with a lot of them because I see them at all the shows. And they were so jazzed for the new music. And we see that it's expanded even further into other territories. And so that's very exciting for me too.
Remember, you can join our Patreon and get early access to all our videos. If you'd like to make a donation and help out the channel, we're always buying new equipment. There's a PayPal link in the description. And buy a t-shirt or a coat or a cap. There's a great swag store, and the link is in the description as well. Comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, share them on social media, and of course, always like those videos. I'm John Bowden. This is Rocky Street Music. Take care of yourself.